happened during President Trump's first term from December 22nd of 2018 to January 25th of 2019. Ryan Schmelz, Fox News.
It's Election Day. All eyes are on the tight race for New Jersey's next governor. Mark Meredith reports from Montclair, New Jersey.
This race also having national implications, with many Democrats wanting this to be a referendum on the Trump administration. Democrats are running Congresswoman Mikey Sherrill as their nominee against Republican former Assemblyman Jack Ciattarelli. While the Republicans insist Trump is not on voters' minds, Democrats believe Washington's moves very much impact the Garden State. The president has not held any in-person rallies in New Jersey, but overnight Trump hosted a telephone rally for the GOP ticket, urging his supporters to show up at the polls today. For her part, Sherrill has embraced the Democratic establishment. She's campaigned with leaders on the left, including former President Obama.
And the people of Virginia are going to the polls today to elect the first female governor. Democrat Abigail Spanberger, a former member of Congress, has been running a strong campaign. Winsome Sears, the current lieutenant governor, is hoping she'll get a strong turnout today.
I'm going to make sure you keep as much of your own money in your pocket because you worked hard for it. So taxes are going to be lower. You're going to be safe and secure in your own homes. We know how to do this. We're not going to defund the police. We're not going to get rid of their qualified immunity. And then, of course, we're going to make sure we continue to create jobs. I want to create generational wealth. I want people to have a will to fight over.
Meanwhile, Matt Carpenter of FRC Action told Washington Watch that we should also keep an eye on the race for Attorney General.
You think back a couple weeks when Democrat Attorney General nominee Jay Jones' text messages came to light, those vile messages where he was fantasizing about the violent end of a political opponent and his family. You did see the race tighten a bit. There has been some polling that suggested Republican Attorney General Jason Miyares could be on top. That's certainly one to watch.
Spanberger has refused to answer questions about her endorsement of Jones for Attorney General after those text messages came to light. A conservative activist believes that New Yorkers could very well elect a far-left Islamist to be their next mayor.
Zoran Mandani calls himself a Democrat socialist, but President Trump and many political pundits say he is a communist because his policies reflect a government takeover of transportation, housing, and even grocery stores. Gary Bauer is chairman of the Campaign for Working Families. During an appearance on American Family Radio, he pointed out it's all about demographics.
Demographics are everything in politics as well as in culture. And in New York now, the population is about 10% Muslim. And they see this as their chance to make a mark on the most important, iconic city in the United States.
And Bauer says then you've got the growing power of the National Socialists of America.
In many ways, New York City is their ground zero. They're very well organized, and they have a whole lot of money. So we could very well wake up on Wednesday morning and the two great financial centers of the capitalist West, London and New York, will have Muslim mayors and be going down the road of far-left politics.
I'm Chad Groening.
Former Vice President Dick Cheney has died at the age of 84. His family putting out a statement saying he died Monday due to complications of pneumonia and cardiac and vascular disease. Madeline Rivera has more.
Cheney's political service spanned several decades and administrations. He worked in the Nixon administration and became President Gerald Ford's chief of staff at 34 years old. He served 5 terms in the House, establishing a staunchly conservative record. His impact, though, is perhaps most felt in national security. As Secretary of Defense under former President George H.W. Bush, he directed 2 of the largest military campaigns in recent history, Operation Just Cause in Panama and Operation Desert Storm in the Middle East.
For American Family News, I'm Rusty Pugh.
If we lose this cultural war, we're going to have a hedonistic, humanistic society.
Discover the story of the culture warrior Don Wildmon and how he went head-to-head with Hollywood, Playboy, the homosexual agenda, and the Disney empire. The movement Don started paved the way for Christians to boldly stand for truth and righteousness in a hostile culture. Watch Culture Warrior today for free. Visit culturewarrior.movie.
Welcome to Today's Issues, offering a Christian response to the issues of the day. Here's your host, Tim Wildmon, President of the American Family Association.
Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to today's issues here on the American Family Radio Network. Thanks for listening to AFR. It's Tuesday, November the 4th, 2025, and I have three gentlemen in studio with me to discuss the issues of the day. And one of them is Wesley Wildmon. Good morning, Wesley.
Good morning.
And Fred Jackson.
Hi there, Tim.
And Chris Woodward.
Good morning.
Chris, who are we having on at 10:30?
At 10:30, we're going to be talking with a friend of AFR, and certainly a name and a voice people will recognize from his show on AFR, that being Todd Nettleton, host of the Voice of the Martyrs radio broadcast that we have on the weekends. And he's going to be talking with us about the situation that our brothers and sisters in Christ in Nigeria are facing. For those not following the news, it's really terrible. It's a terrible time in Nigeria to be a Christian, but these people are boldly proclaiming their faith, and they're dying for it.
So we're going to talk to Todd Nettleton, a Voice of the Martyrs, about the situation in Nigeria. Nigeria, as we mentioned yesterday, is the largest country in Africa. A lot of you listening to me right now maybe know somebody in in Nigeria, or you Christian missionaries in Nigeria. Whatever the case may be, Nigeria is, well known around the world for as a major country on the continent of Africa. So we're going to talk about what's going on there with Todd Nettleton, and a lot of other topics to talk about today, including what happened, overnight.
Yes. Dick Cheney, former vice president, two-time vice president, passed away at the age of 84. We have this story on our website, afn.net. The family says Mr. Cheney died due to complications of pneumonia and cardiac and vascular disease. And we have a lengthy statement from the family there on afn.net. We also have some audio from people remembering their time having worked with Vice President Cheney. For example, former White House Press Secretary Dana Perino called into Fox and made some comments on the passing of Vice President Cheney. Clip 12.
I also loved watching him in meetings. There's this really funny story. If I have a second, I'll tell you. So in the Oval Office, where I sat, I had line of sight with President Bush during these policy time meetings, and that's when the ultimate decisions are being made after staffers have hashed it out. And Dick Cheney was always sitting to the president's right. And the president and I would kind of laugh because sometimes you would think that Dick Cheney was asleep in the meetings and his head was nodding. And President Bush would look and wink at me and do a little tilt of his head. And then inevitably, 2 minutes later, Dick Cheney would ask the most incisive question that was clear that he was listening to everything the entire time. And the other thing I would say is one time when my dad came to the White House, which was a big deal for me, and the president made it a big deal, but because of that Wyoming connection, Dick Cheney really made it special and easy.
That is, who was that?
Well, former White House Press Secretary Dana Perino.
Talking about the Vice President Dick Cheney, who passed away last night at the age of 84. You don't remember Vice President Cheney, do you, Wesley?
I don't. I'm pulling up his
Fred and I,
Wikipedia now.
Yeah. Well, Fred and I do. Well, we can tell you all about it.
Yeah.
He served in Congress for a long time as the representative from Wyoming. I'm talking about the House of Representatives. And then he became George Bush's vice president. And he was served in that position for 8 years. He really had no desire to run for president, though, did he?
I don't remember any. He was defense secretary one time. He served in both Bush administrations.
That's right.
And, of course, he was vice president. He was pivotal. I mean, during the Iraq War.
Yeah.
He was more, and it's kind of interesting, the headline from the AP this morning, one of the most powerful vice presidents in U.S. history. He did not follow the script that, the vice president, he's named vice president, then he goes off and does other things.
He was like a co-president, quite frankly.
He was, and that's what Dana Perino was referring to there, kind of laughing a little bit that she and President Bush used to note that maybe Dick Cheney, is he falling asleep? No, he wasn't. He was thinking about what was being said.
That's what I tell Allison I'm doing in church.
It happens to the best of
when
us.
I get the elbow in the ribs about
but do you come back with,
don't go to sleep in church?
Do you come back with
I'm thinking about what the pastor
answer?
just said. You know what I'm saying?
Deeply.
Listen, Dick Cheney was a great American and served our country in many capacities. I said he was patriotic, and I was sad to learn that he had passed away, but he was 84 years old.
Yes.
And
I was not aware of his health problems that go back many, many years with his heart. He had difficulties through the years. You would not know it by the pace he kept while he was vice president.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to ask, what were a couple of the things that he was remembered for, good or bad?
Well, he was he shot somebody one time.
He did.
Hunting.
On a hunting trip.
Oh.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
You ever done that, Wesley?
I've never done that.
Okay.
It's called gun safety.
Well, thankfully nobody
It
was
can
seriously
happen.
hurt.
No.
It was right. It was they were bird hunting or something. You remember that, Fred? Something like that. And
Yes.
That's easy. In bird hunting, there's multiple shotguns and multiple people, and that I can see how that could happen and it not be
right.
Yeah.
Right. But on a serious note, he I guess he would best be remembered for the things Fred's mentioned. Secretary of Defense under George Herbert Walker Bush. That's George Bush's daddy. And then when George W. Bush became president, he served as VP for 2 terms. So 8 years in the White House. And he, as we say, he was more like a chief of staff.
Yeah.
He wasn't a traditional vice president traveling around to funerals and aspirations to be president one day. He was basically, I think he was older. He was about 5 years older than George W. Bush. So he was basically his right-hand man, I guess you could say.
Kind of person you would want as your 2IC.
Yeah. All right, next story, Chris.
Well, it's election day in various parts of the country, and big races that AFN.net is watching involve New York City's mayoral race and the gubernatorial elections in Virginia and New Jersey.
Who's running for mayor in New York, Chris?
Zohran Mamdani.
I'm sorry, Chris. Who did you say?
Zohran Mamdani.
I think you just wanted to hear.
I do. Right. The way Chris says his name.
I think anybody can say it, but
like,
that has a little bit of.
It's like a superhero or something.
Yeah.
Or
a supervillain, depending on the person you
that's
ask.
true. Supervillain. So it's a big. Everybody's watching to see what happens. Zohran Mamdani is a socialist / communist.
Yes.
Unapologetically so, and he's going to. He would be the mayor of the largest city in America if he wins today.
Yes, and it looks like he will win based on the polling. For example, he's leading the 2 challengers in today's election. Former Democrat turned independent governor Andrew Cuomo is running as mayor of New York City. He's in second place, and then Republican Curtis Silva is in third. If Silva had dropped out, one might make the argument that Cuomo has a real chance here of defeating Zohran Mamdani in the mayoral election. But it looks like, due to things like exit polling and interviews and news articles and all kinds of things, that Zohran Mamdani will probably be the mayor of New York City come tomorrow, barring some sort of comeback from Cuomo here in the last minute. What's interesting about this race is that President Trump has intervened here and has actually endorsed Governor Cuomo, or at least told people in New York City to vote Cuomo. Mm-hmm. Curtis Silva doesn't have a chance of winning, Trump says, so vote Cuomo. And I have some audio of Cuomo talking about this, saying, look, Trump doesn't support me. He just doesn't like Zohran Mamdani. Clip 5.
How's it feel to have Trump's endorsement just a couple of hours ago?
Yeah. President Trump doesn't support me. He opposes Mamdani, right? He believes that Mamdani is an existential threat to New York. He believes he's a communist. He believes he'll bankrupt New York. So he opposes Mamdani. He doesn't support me. It's the opposition of Mamdani.
Well, that's true.
It's very true.
It's true, but that is a great political answer, because Cuomo's trying to tell people, I'm not tied to Donald Trump, because Cuomo at this point,
that's not a winner in the city of New York.
No, he is hoping that Cuomo is still hoping that he'll get the vote of traditional Democrats in New York, and he's hoping he's going to persuade some Republicans not to vote for Sliwa. So he's hoping he can put all that together to perhaps win over Mamdani. We'll wait and see.
Well, leading up until today, or over the weekend, I have tongue-in-cheek said, and I that I'm kind of pulling from Mondani just so they can get what they asked for, so to speak, and so that we can get the idea would be for me is that he would be able to implicate his plan, assuming he can. A lot of it's unconstitutional.
Impose his plan. Yeah.
Then we could see the ripple effect, and we can learn from it as a nation,
right?
Without having a general. However, over the weekend, I will say though, I was talking to a friend of mine about this issue that we're talking about, and they came back and said, well, that could happen, or it could be like other parts. So was it Michigan where they've hijacked and there's no going back? But basically, I guess a flip side that could happen is Mondani wins. Is it Mamdani? Is I saying that correct? Mamdani wins, and then we concede that ground to a different country, and you never go back.
Yeah. Well, we'll find out what happens. But, yeah, it will be a study in communism, so to speak, if Mondani wins. And whether he can accomplish all the things he said he wants to do there in New York City, even as powerful as the mayor's office is, would remain to be seen. And also, what are the implications, ramifications of the housing market, for example, if it's true that, a fifth of New Yorkers are planning to leave? Should he get, maybe not a fifth, but whatever it is, it's a substantial number.
Yep.
Planning to leave if he gets elected, because he is as far left as you can get. This is what this guy is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So he's very soft on crime, is very anti-police, believes in free everything for everybody by taxing the rich. And
defund the police means no police.
Yeah, he's been on that bandwagon too. Now he wouldn't say that today.
Well, he would come back when he got some pushback.
Yeah. All right, so we'll watch and see what happens. I'm glad that race will be over today.
He's very anti-Israel too.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
He has said that if Prime Minister Netanyahu arrives in New York, that he would arrest him on behalf of the World Court.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, there's so many.
He did say that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's one thing when we get passionate about something, both sides can be a little bit hyperbolic at times. Obviously, we've seen that. However, when he's a self-identified communist, you don't have to. I don't think none of us or anybody on our movement has to be hyperbolic about what he potentially could do when he's stated everything we've already said as part of his
He's proud
mission.
of it.
Yes.
I mean, he's proud of it. I mean, his far left position. So.
In some candidates, you have to go look at where they give money to in order to uncover a few things.
Where they get money from?
Or where they get money from. But in this case, this is pretty obvious.
Yeah.
But this is part of a bigger story, though. What's going on inside the Democratic Party?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's been going on for how long? About probably 10 years.
Yeah. AOC, Bernie Sanders. I know he's not Democrat, but he votes with Democrats. Right. He is part of that radical left. We talk about the squad members, all of that sort of thing. And this is what your traditional Democrats are concerned about: the success. They're very concerned about the success of Mamdani in New York, because they see this element taking over. The traditional Democrats are very worried that this element is not going to go beyond New York City, and they're going to rope it. You were talking about Minneapolis, Seattle. All of these are radical lefts. They're all socialists.
And I think the media will, if he wins tonight, tomorrow, whenever, the media will make him into the next Barack Obama. Or the next Bernie Sanders, really. The really radical person. Somebody will make the case that because he can win in New York City with millions of people and diverse ethnicities and all these other things, he can win the White House. I guarantee you
unite the country.
Somebody will push. He will win tonight, tomorrow, whatever, and somebody will try to say that he should run in 2028.
Yep.
Next story. That's enough New York mayor stuff.
Let's do this because President Trump, in addition to telling people to vote for Cuomo, he's also out there pitching for really any Republican running for office today or in the
Cuomo's not a Republican; he's an independent.
Correct. Thank you. In addition to supporting Cuomo somehow, some way, Trump wants people to vote Republican in these and future elections. Clip 1.
Issues are still in play. They're very close, including governor, lieutenant governor, attorney general, and the legislature is all up and vote Republican. And, if I just cover one subject, your energy prices will go way down as opposed to your energy prices going through the roof. But they're going to raise your taxes, and the crime will be rampant. The crime will be totally horrible. They'll be protecting the violent perpetrators. They'll be protecting the violent people that caused the crime.
That was President Trump telling people to vote Republican.
Right. Well, he's a Republican, so no surprise there, right?
Yeah, that's true.
And really, it's not a lot going on today except for Virginia and New Jersey and New York.
Correct. There are some down ballot things in
What
various
are they, Chris?
places. Well, I know from Debbie Wuthnow of iVoter Guide, which is now part of the AFA family. Debbie was on Washington Watch last week with Tony Perkins. I think it was Jody Heiss hosting that day, and she was talking about how there were some school board elections in various parts of the country. There's also a lot of ballot referendums, and we're going to be covering this tonight, Lord willing, on AFN. Where we're going to be
Lord's
talking
willing?
Well, if the Lord tarries and we cover the news tonight. Yes. We're going to be covering
I'm just picking on Brother Chris
here.
I know what you're saying. Go ahead.
Him on his toes.
You do whatever you want to as long as I remain gainfully employed,
and
sir.
you get a paycheck and
I have
family.
3 people depending on me to eat.
I got you.
Okay.
So I got some down. It's election day.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm anxious to see what happens with the Attorney General post in Virginia.
Yeah.
This is the Jay Jones running for the Democrats. He is still on the ballot, and he's the guy that talked about putting a bullet in the head of his political enemy back there several months ago. Just terrible things. And Jason Miyares is the current Attorney General, and I'm told the latest polling actually puts it pretty close.
Yeah.
So I'm very anxious to see that. Miyares is a great guy.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting if the Republican continues to hold this office, because you may have a situation where you have a Democrat in the governor's mansion wanting to do certain stuff that the Republican Attorney General doesn't want to go to court to defend.
Yeah. So we'll be watching that.
Okay. All right. Hey, the government's still shut down.
This story I've been waiting to get to right here.
That's what I'm here for, sir.
I can't get enough of this government shutdown story.
Yes.
Chris.
And as in the case for the last 3 weeks, Democrats and Republicans continue to point the finger at one another for the government shutdown.
Who's going to blink?
To be honest with you, I think Democrats are going to cave, because the scuttlebutt has been for the last few days, really the last week or so, is supposedly Democrats are wanting to get through Election Day today, to get the Mamdani in there, to get Abigail Spanberger, talk about the future, vote for us in the midterms, and then they'll cave on the government shutdown. I could be wrong, wouldn't be the first time.
Take us back in memory lane here. The last shutdown that I can remember that I was around for was in 2015 or 16. I can't. I was on my honeymoon. Okay.
Yeah.
I was on my honeymoon, and we've got.
This would upset anybody.
That's
if a government shutdown happened on your honeymoon.
I know, St. Lucia on our honeymoon, and I
Right.
got the message on my phone that the government was shut down.
Right.
And I just remember how the entire time it was the Republicans' fault.
Yeah.
They were
the Republicans sort of did get blamed for that one, I think, if I remember correctly. But go ahead.
And Trump was the last man standing on that
Right.
government shutdown. He was trying to live on principle. We were
Right.
behind, but we've got that compared to what we have here now. Trump was in office then too.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, go ahead.
There's two things here going on here that we. The SNAP program.
Yes.
Well, what is that short for? That acronym?
Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program.
Okay. Food stamps.
Yes.
Am I right?
Yes.
Correct.
What we used to call food stamps, which is called SNAP today. Fred, that is set to run out of money.
Yeah,
right?
as of last Saturday, actually.
So what's going on with that?
Well, what has happened is last Friday, 2 Barack Obama-appointed federal judges told the Trump administration, you have to come up with the money to make sure that these 40 or 41 million Americans get their EBT cards filled up. So what has happened in the meantime, in the last 48 hours, is that the Trump administration says, we have enough to pay the recipients half of what they normally get. Now, believe it or not, folks, this program, this EBT SNAP program, costs the taxpayers of America $8 billion a month. $8 billion a month. Trump says we've got about $4.5 billion sitting in a particular fund, we can do this. So they're agreeing to do this. Now, it doesn't mean those cards are going to get filled up with that money today. It takes some doing to figure out who gets what. But that is the compromise that's there. The other news that I heard this morning on the shutdown front, and Senator Ted Cruz of Texas was being interviewed. He was asked, are there conversations going on in the background? And he said, yes, there are some conversations going on in the background, cooler heads, that perhaps once we get through the election day today, get the results, that there will be a coming together of some sort, and we'll get the government back up and going. Because things are getting serious. If you're traveling by air right now, it is doubtful either your flight could be delayed or canceled completely. It's because the air traffic controllers are not being paid. Mm-hmm. They had their last paycheck.
Neither are the TSA workers.
That's right. It's getting really dicey there.
How long can you go without a paycheck? And I don't understand. Listen, I don't understand how you can compel somebody to go to work without giving them a paycheck. That sounds fundamentally unfair to me, but that's the situation with the...
They're being asked. They can't be forced.
Oh, they're being asked.
They're being asked, will you please show
So we
up?
get volunteers for TSA agents?
I was not this person that was pulled over, but during one of our recent shutdowns, a lot of people joked, well, great, I can do 55 now on the Natchez Trace instead of 50. No, they were still pulling people over voluntarily.
Yeah. So what can end the shutdown?
Well, somebody will have to cave or a compromise will have to take place. But
let's go both sides. What if it was what if Democrats are giving up, so to speak?
Well, they would. All right, I'm gonna let Fred tell this because I'll get into a word salad if I start trying.
Well,
to
the Democrats have said that they're not supporting the continuing resolution because they want guarantees that the Joe Biden COVID subsidies for Obamacare will continue.
Okay. Which were meant to be temporary.
Yes. However, they're not, believe it or not, they're not being completely honest. They want a whole lot more than that.
Right.
They're talking about the subsidies, and they're talking about SNAP, kids going hungry, etc. They want to restore funding to NPR.
Yep.
National Public Radio. They want to restore funding to all of these agencies out there, these government agencies all over the world that get supplements from the government. They want, we are told, about $1.5 trillion in renewed spending that was cut out in the big beautiful bill. So that's what it's about. But I think they're going to give in on this, and I think you're going to see.
We have some Democrat influencers that have said that the Democrats need to give in, don't we?
Well, I don't know about an influencer, but I know the head of the biggest government worker union basically said, y'all need to quit fighting, come back to work, get the clean CR, and figure this out once you're back open. For the government union head to be saying that, it's basically saying Democrats give it up. And even Barack Obama, during one of the shutdowns in his administration, had talked about how this is what elections are for. So really, this is a midterm election issue, not something in 2025.
I wonder what's going to happen, though, if the SNAP program runs out of money.
People will have to go to work.
Well, yeah, or they'll go on a theft rampage.
Yeah. Some of them do already work, but, it's going to be problems.
Yeah. Well, they'll probably, I said this a month ago. I said they'll probably get this worked out in the next week, but who knows? We'll be back momentarily with more of today's issues on the American Family Radio Network.
It's my turn.
Here is your host for My Turn, Don Wildmon.
Once upon a time in the long, long ago, the sun and the wind got into an argument. They were arguing about which of the two was more powerful. Back and forth they argued, each stating why he was more powerful than the other. Well, this argument went on for several days. Finally, the moon, being as tired as he was wise, told the two that he had had enough. Instead of the two continually arguing about who was more powerful, they should have a test. The sun and the wind agreed to such an idea. They would settle the question once and for all. As the wind looked down upon the earth, he saw a man walking along a road. I suggest, stated the wind, that we see who can make the man remove his coat. The one which makes the man remove his coat will be declared the most powerful. The wind was thinking of the force he had with which to blow the coat off the man's back. But the sun agreed to the test. It was decided that the wind would try first. The sun backed away and went behind a cloud to allow the wind first chance. Well, the wind began to blow, without much force at first, but then a little stronger. And, much to the surprise of the wind, instead of taking the coat off, the man only pulled it tighter around him. Soon the wind was blowing at full force, and the wind made the man colder and colder. And the colder he got, the more he pulled his coat around him to protect him from the wind. Finally, exhausted from the ordeal, the wind gave up. I cannot make him pull off his coat, the wind said. And if I can't, I know you can't, he said to the sun. Well, the sun didn't say anything. Very slowly he moved from behind the cloud and began to send his warm rays down upon the man. As it began to get warm, the man unbuttoned his coat and let it hang loose. Then the sun, in all its brilliance, unleashed its powerful rays of warmth upon the man. Within a short time, the man was taking off his coat. "You win," said the wind. "You did by warmth what I could not do by force." You know, it's that way in life. Man can achieve by the warmth of love what he can never achieve by the winds of force. Of all the power in the universe, love is the strongest. Man will gladly die for those he loves and seek ways to destroy those who force. Robert Burton was right when he wrote, "No cord nor cable can so forcibly draw or hold so fast as love can do with a twined thread." You can blow men down a path by force, but in the process they will not stay with you. They will only fight back at you, as the man with the coat did the wind. But if you love them, they will go with you no matter how far nor how hard the way, and they will go voluntarily and gladly. It was not by accident that the Galilean made these two the greatest of all commandments. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, and mind. Love your neighbor as much as you love yourself. Many of us who have followed the example of the wind would do well to follow the example of the sun.
This has been My Turn with Don Wildmon, a production of the American Family Association.
In Him we were also chosen, having been predestined according to the plan of Him who works out everything in conformity with the purpose of His will. Ephesians 1:11.
American Family Radio. This is Today's Issues. Email your comments to comments@afr.net. Past broadcasts of Today's Issues are available for listening and viewing in the archive at afr.net. Now, back to more of Today's Issues.
Hey, welcome back, everybody, to the radio program Today's Issues on American Family Radio. Today, again, is Tuesday, November the 4th. Tim, Wesley, Fred, and Chris, and we're all in studio here, and joining us now is Todd Nettleton. Todd is host of Voice of the Martyrs, heard Sundays at 10 a.m. Central Time right here on American Family Radio, and Todd joins us, I think, from Oklahoma, but I'm not exactly sure. Todd, good morning to you.
Good morning. Yes, from Bartlesville, Oklahoma.
Yes, and Voice of the Martyrs said that's been your home base for how many years?
I believe we moved here in 1991, so quite a while, since before I started working here.
I got you. You're north of Tulsa, right? Isn't that right, or somewhere?
Yep, that's correct. Just 45 miles north of Tulsa.
Gotcha. Well, Todd, thanks for being on with us. Tell us about the mission. Before we get into the story about Nigeria, I know many people listening to me right now are familiar with your ministry, Voice of the Martyrs, and hear your radio program Sunday mornings at 10 a.m. here on American Family Radio, and also carried in a podcast. But tell our listeners what the overall mission is of Voice of the Martyrs.
The ministry of Voice of the Martyrs is a ministry to serve and help persecuted Christians in more than 70 countries around the world where they regularly face persecution for following Jesus Christ. And the other part of our mission is to tell their stories to American Christians so that we know what's going on, so that we can honor the scriptural command that when one part of the body suffers, we're all supposed to feel that pain, and also so that we can be encouraged. As we see the faithfulness and the boldness of brothers and sisters in China and Iran and Nigeria, we can be encouraged and hopefully challenged to be faithful and bold right where we live.
All right, tell us about what's happening in Nigeria.
Big development about Nigeria over the weekend. On Friday, President Trump posted to social media that he was designating Nigeria as a country of particular concern on the area of religious freedom. And that is something that typically the State Department issues those designations. But in this case, the president did it through social media. What that means is it basically gives the U.S. government a toolbox of things, both carrots and sticks, that they can use to try to nudge a foreign government to provide better protection for religious minorities in their country. And so this kind of opens the door. And then over the weekend, the president posted another post about possibly using U.S. military troops to provide protection for Christians or to go after some of the terrorist groups in Nigeria that are persecuting Christians. There's a lot of talk about that. That certainly got the attention of the Nigerian government. We'll see what that looks like in the months to come. But I think the biggest takeaway is simply that, hey, our brothers and sisters in Nigeria are suffering, and the U.S. government is now paying attention to that.
It's more than persecution, folks. This is savagery of what's going on with the Christians in Nigeria. They're being hunted down and butchered, and so who is doing this to the Christians?
That's the interesting part of this, because the CPC designation really is about the government of Nigeria. Typically, the persecution that's happening in Nigeria is coming from usually one of three groups. So one is Boko Haram. We have probably heard about them. They, several years ago, pledged allegiance to ISIS. They want a Islamic state in the northern part of Nigeria. They want Sharia law. That's one group. The other is Islamic State West Africa province. They are definitely a part of ISIS. And the other is Islamists from among the Fulani tribe. Now, not all Fulani are Islamists. In fact, there are a number of Fulani Christians now, but there are Islamists from among the Fulani tribe that specifically target Christians. And this is typically in the northern part of Nigeria. That's another part of this story to understand. Nigeria, population-wise, is split fairly evenly between Christians and Muslims, but the north is predominantly Muslim. The south part of the country is predominantly Christian. So in the south, you have mega churches that are operating very similar to how maybe your church operates this Sunday. They're having large gatherings. They're meeting. They're singing hymns. It is safe for them. In the north, you have pastors being targeted and killed. Same country, but very different setting for Christians, depending geographically where you are in the country.
Yeah, seems to me, and I'm not speaking for you. You can speak for yourself on this, Todd. Seems to me this is the same old story. Radical Muslims want to kill Christians to purge the earth of the infidel. Okay, that's a driving force for much of the terrorism around the world. Quite frankly, go ahead.
It is definitely there is an aspect of that. As you look at the violence, there is also sometimes ethnic and tribal animosity that plays into it. There is, land. There's conflict sometimes between people who want to farm the land and people who want to graze cattle on the land. But when you see a village that's been attacked and you go, and we've had some of our staff that will go to the village after the attack, and you're like, okay, that house was burned down. it belonged to a Christian. The house right next door is still standing. It belonged to a Muslim.
Right.
It's like, well, wait a minute. That's not farmers versus herders. That is Christian persecution, because all the Christian houses got burned down and the Muslim houses are still standing.
Hey, what are the top 3 countries in the world that Voice of the Martyrs? Do you guys rank persecution for Christians in terms of the worst places, or do you do anything like that? Go ahead.
We don't do a ranking,
right?
Because we feel like our mission is to serve persecuted Christians, regardless of where or regardless of how many other Christians in their country have been persecuted. I think when you talk about the toughest places to be a Christian, you have to think about North Korea. You have to think now about Afghanistan with the Taliban back in control there. I think certainly we would think of Iran. There are lots of Christians in Iran, but they are certainly paying a high price for that. Somalia is a very difficult place to be a Christian, Eritrea, but we don't publish a top 50 or bottom 50, depending on how you look at it.
Yeah. So you do talk to people on the ground in Nigeria?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Like weekly, daily? How often do you communicate with them?
I don't necessarily communicate with them directly all the time, but we have staff that oversee that part of the world that are in communication every week with our team on the ground there.
All right, Todd. Todd Nettleton, host of Voice of the Martyrs, heard Sundays at 10 a.m. Central Time right here on American Family Radio. How can people get in touch with you guys, follow you guys, that kind of thing?
Persecution.com is the main Voice of the Martyrs website. It's an easy one to remember, persecution.com. We can connect you up there with our free monthly magazine. We can also connect you with the podcast, and would love to have you come. And, our goal is to help you know what's happening with the body of Christ, to help you be able to pray effectively for persecuted Christians in Nigeria and in other places around the world.
All right, Todd, thanks for joining us. We will pray for your ministry, and thank you for being on with us.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Okay, that's Todd Nettleton from Voice of the Martyrs in Bartlesville. That's where Bartlesville, Oklahoma is their international headquarters, I guess you could say. You're listening to Today's Issues on American Family Radio. All I would do is ask people to pray for the Christians in Nigeria specifically. Yeah. Because it is bad. You can read about it. It's bad. We think we have problems here sometimes in the U.S. and in Canada and other places, and they are real in terms of our religious freedoms and our rights. But these folks in Nigeria, live where the Christians there live, thinking they might lose their house or their family. Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Well, and just murdered.
Yeah. I mean, that kind of thing. All right, next story, Chris.
Well,
wait, hold on. Before you do that, Chris, excuse me. Mm-hmm. Wesley, share your story. You shared devotion this morning.
I was going to, but also, do we need to tease it and do it later? Now?
Do it now.
Now's it. Okay, here we go.
Tell people the backdrop and what happened here.
So the reason you didn't hear my voice last week on American Family Radio on Today's Issues is because I was traveling with a work event. We took 200 of our listeners and our supporters to the Ark Encounter and to the Creation Museum, when we spent 2 full days together, early mornings, late nights, and 2 full days. And while I was there, I got to meet several. As I mentioned, I met, out of the 200, I probably shook hands with probably half during that time period. And one of the testimonies that was given to me amongst many testimonies was a testimony from Kate. I won't give her last name or where she's located, because although I'm friends with her now and I know her and her husband Ron, who's a really good friend now, she shared with me while we were there that she had I'm pretty sure I got all these details right, prostate cancer, and she went in and the doctor
pancreatic. Sorry, that's male only.
Sorry, pancreatic. It was
pancreatic. Yeah.
Pancreatic cancer. She had pancreatic cancer. And she said, I went to the doctor. They all but said, you're not going to live. It would take a miracle, but we're going to go through with what's the last procedure possible. They went in and they were taking out her intestines, and they saved just the right amount. They were able to save just the right amount that with all of the medication and with time, there would be a small chance that she would live. So basically, they went in with no chance to come out with a small chance. She spends 108 days in the hospital. All the while, the doctor's saying you are a miracle that you've made it this far. 108 days in the hospital, and she has to take a lot of different medications. Well, while she was in the hospital, there were obviously, in her recovery, there were days where she couldn't sleep, and she's rolling around, and nights become days, and days become nights. And she told me that when she was telling me her this testimony, she said, and you know what got me through? Do you know what got me through? I said, no, ma'am. She said, the AFR, being able to listen to AFR and JJ's radio program in the morning, she said, but even more so at 3 a.m. when I couldn't sleep and I was miserable and rolling around in the bed in the hospital, it was Pastor Joseph Parker's Hour of Intercessors radio program at 3 a.m. in the morning that impacted her and helped her get through that long period in the hospital. And then, of course, she recovers. She spends about 8 or 9 years. The last 8 or 9 years, she didn't travel, didn't go anywhere. She went home. From home to picking up her groceries, very localized, very home-based oriented, because of all the implications of her surgery, and the medication, all that. Then her first trip, she was out of the house and traveling, was at the Ark Encounter with us 9 years after that. So she's a walking miracle,
Wow.
and because of our listeners, our supporters, funding and helping us do the work we do, we're able to provide a 3 a.m. radio program from our own. That's our own radio.
Amen.
So,
Hour of Intercession with Pastor Joseph Parker airs at 3 a.m. Central Time.
That's right. And her name's Kate.
Kate. What a story. What a testimony. So she's a walking miracle.
She is. And she told us that herself. She said, I'm a walking miracle. And she was just glowing too. By the way, she mentioned, she didn't mention it. I found this story out after talking with her a couple of different times. My point is, I wouldn't have known all of the impact that and there's so many like that testimonies that we just don't know the impact that we're having.
Yeah.
Well,
this is all possible because people listening to us right now who make financial donations to American Family Radio help us broadcast across the country and reach people like Kate.
And funny, at the end of one of our conversations, I talked with her and her husband. I talked with them several times. She said, "You know what? This is going so well. I may go to Israel with y'all." There she is.
Love to have her. Yeah,
that's
love
the
to have
picture
her.
right there.
That's Kate.
I'm showing the radio.
Yeah,
right here.
what we're talking about is a couple that Wesley met at the Ark Encounter last week. Was it last week?
That's right. We were up there Thursday and Friday.
That's Ken Ham's Answers in Genesis project.
We went to the Creation Museum on Thursday. We went to the Ark Encounter on Friday. During Thursday night, we had Dr. Faulkner come by. He talked about the North Star, Christmas star. And then on Friday, we had Dr. Purdom. She came in and helped us explain why we can trust the Bible as being God's word.
I've talked to her a lot.
Yep. Yeah, great. By the way, let me plug them. They are Chick-fil-A on steroids as it relates to their customer service and organization. Mm-hmm. I highly encourage you, if you're in the vicinity, to go check out their facilities. And obviously the biblical evidence that they provide is phenomenal. You get a great experience. It's done at top class, and we'll be going. I'm pretty sure we don't have dates yet, but I'm pretty sure we'll be going next year like we did this year. So,
when you go, you've been 3 years, 4 years,
3 years in a row.
So you open it up to people who want to.
Listeners right now.
Listeners, okay. So you'll announce when that's open?
We'll announce
because I know you sell out like months in advance.
We did, yeah. And
so how many do you take? 200 total?
Each year we added a bus of 50, but we're capped out at 200. 200 is the most we'll take, and we've filled that up. We took 200, which is 4 buses. That gives Tony Vitagliano, Walker Wildman, and myself the opportunity to meet everybody. Anything more than that, it becomes...
Right.
It's not as personable.
Pain in the neck.
It's not as personable. That's how I say it.
I didn't say it. No, that's not true.
That is a lot of people, though.
Yeah, that's a lot of people. All right, you're listening to Today's Issues. Fred, anything you want to say?
I love radio.
Yeah.
Amen.
I love how the Lord is using radio to reach hearts all over the world. We get the testimonies during Share-a-thon. Mm-hmm. You can have a radio in a jail cell.
Yeah.
You can have a radio in a hospital room. You can have a radio on, that 18-wheeler truck driver going across the country. They drive a lot at night. They have a radio on. We get all of these testimonies. TV is powerful, but radio gets places where TV can't.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the wonderful part about American Family Radio now, you can take it all over the world.
Yeah.
The
app's been a game changer.
Take it all over the world,
Right.
folks. And it's ministering the programs that we have on American Family Radio. We do information programming, obviously. We have great preaching programs. We've got a program Monday through Friday gives financial advice. I mean, we've got this huge menu.
Yeah.
Exploring the Word. You know, it's there for you. All you have to do is press the button, turn it on your cell phone, whatever the case may be. American Family Radio is there for you. God is using it in a powerful way. Love that testimony.
Amen.
One of the first people that I really got to listening to after starting here, I was listening to Dr. Adrian Rogers.
Yes.
On the way home, and I really got into it. And I was like, man, this guy's great. And for people who don't know my story, I didn't become a Christian until I was 28 years old. So all this was new to me. After I got saved, started working there and all that stuff. But anyway, I'm listening to Adrian Rogers, in his big booming voice, which I can't do justice to, obviously. But I got into listening to his show, and then I'm watching television with my father-in-law one day, and he puts it on one of his sermons, and I'm like, oh, I love this guy. I listen to his shows all the time. And my father-in-law goes, yeah, it was a sad day when he left us. And I had no idea. I think I was like the last person that knew Pastor Rogers had gone home to be with the Lord. But nonetheless, we do have, what I'm trying to say is, even people that have gone home to be with Jesus and we're still airing their stuff, they're still having an impact on this side of eternity. And it touched my heart. And I don't know why.
Radio.
Yeah.
All right, you're listening to Today's Issues on AFR Next Story. Chris.
All right. So this is probably the beginning of a discussion that may carry over after the break. So stay tuned to this program for more on this. But in recent days, Tucker Carlson had a conversation with a man that many consider to be an anti-Semite, Nick Fuentes. They mocked Christians like Mike Huckabee and Senator Ted Cruz, who support Israel's right to its land and existence. For example, they claimed Christian Zionists are, quote, seized by a brain virus, and that their beliefs are, quote, Christian heresy. Somebody that didn't care for this one iota was Tony Perkins, president of Family Research Council, friend of this program. Tony wrote an op-ed blasting this conversation. The headline is Tucker Carlson's mockery and God's irrevocable call. So Tony is one person out there, and to be honest with you, there's a lot of people blasting Tucker Carlson for this segment.
Not Tony, Tucker.
Yes.
Just emphasize there.
Okay, so we talked about this at our meeting this morning, preparing to do the radio show, our staff meeting, our guys in this room. We discussed this issue. First, let me say, I was a big fan, and I think everybody in here was, of Tucker Carlson during his Fox News days.
Yes.
He was outstanding as a journalist and as a talk show host on Fox News. He had one of the highest rated programs there, right?
Yep, evening show.
And then he and Fox News got crossways. I don't know what happened exactly there, but he left. Pardon me. He left there and started his own podcast, right?
Yes.
And then he started to do some things that I thought, and a lot of people thought, what is he doing? What is Tucker doing? What is he saying? Of course, he's a highly intelligent man. He speaks for himself, and he knows full well he doesn't. In other words, his thinking is thought out. Can I say that in that way? So, and then he started interviewing people like these brothers, these Tate brothers, and I'm going, what's the value of this interview right here? Didn't he interview the Iranian leader?
Yeah,
the Iranian leader, and I don't know. But the main thing that's developed in the last week or so is Tucker saying, "Do you have his quote? He doesn't believe in quote Christian Zionism.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That he believes that God doesn't have a covenant with the Jews any longer.
Right. Now,
have I got that right?
You do have that right. I will say this, just a caveat. We're not implying or saying that interviewing people of opposing views is the ultimate problem here. I think I want to be careful that we don't do it because
I agree with that. Although there are lines. There are.
Sure, there are lines.
Yeah.
But it's the propagandizing of issues, and it's not giving the full story of it. And does that make sense?
Yeah. Let's go over.
You want
to
to help
Fred.
me out here?
Yeah. Go ahead, Fred, because explain what's going on there with Tucker.
Well, he was doing this interview with this Nick Fuentes. We reviewed a little bit of what Nick Fuentes says on the air. He's a racist. He's a Holocaust denier.
It's awful.
All of those things. Where a lot of people are taking issue with Tucker Carlson is Tucker Carlson did not push back when Nick Fuentes was saying these things, like claiming.
It was like Tucker agreed with him?
That's the issue here, that people are upset. Yep. You know, this guy claimed Christian Zionists are seized by a brain virus and that their beliefs are Christian heresy.
Who said that?
Well, this is what came up in this interview. Tucker Carlson is being criticized because he didn't push back against that. And that's where this is.
Why would you have this fellow on your show in the first place?
That's the thing. You know, I agree with Wesley. You can have people that you can have disagreements about. But when it goes to this extent that this Fuentes guy goes, why give him a platform?
Mm-hmm. And if you're going to give him a platform, you got to vehemently disagree with him on the air to show that you don't agree with him.
And this didn't happen.
Not softball, not lob softballs.
Right.
That's it exactly. Tony, our good friend Tony Perkins has done an editorial on this, and basically Tony, being a Baptist pastor, among other things, goes to Scripture. He goes to Romans chapters 10 and 11, where the Apostle Paul, in his letter to the Romans, said, wait a minute, you Gentiles, don't you start thinking that God is through with the Jewish people, because that would be the breaking of the Abrahamic covenant. And Tony said if God broke his covenant with the Jewish people, if he broke the Abrahamic covenant, maybe God can break his promise to you when it comes to salvation. That's the issue here, that people are, and that's why we have to fight this anti-Semitism. We have to fight this idea that God is through with the Jewish people.
Is this called replacement theology?
Yes, in many quarters.
That sphere.
Huh?
It's in that sphere.
It's in that sphere that God is through with the Jewish people and that the church has replaced the Jewish people in Israel. And Tony Perkins and others are saying that is simply not true.
But Tucker Carlson is saying if you believe that the Abrahamic covenant still exists today, that you have a brain virus.
Yes. And he calls it Christian heresy to believe that.
And he called out Ted Cruz and Mike Huckabee, didn't he? By name.
Yes. He did more than call them out. He's just being ugly and mean. Yeah. Unnecessarily.
Tucker was?
Yeah.
Yeah, when he gets mad, he lashes.
Yeah.
Tucker. This is interesting because Tucker Carlson has been front and center in the conservative movement for decades.
Long time.
And
he had that show with Carville back in the day.
Yeah, now here we are. He's closely aligned with Turning Point USA, too. All right, we'll be back momentarily. Stay with us.
The views and opinions expressed in this broadcast may not necessarily reflect those of the American Family Association or American Family Radio.
Faith, family, freedom. American Family Radio.
They will thrust a cell phone in your face. If you ask a question, they'll surround you with cameras. They'll scream at you. They'll try to get you to commit violence. I believe God is giving us a little bit of a glimpse into what life without Him would be like.
A Disciple's View with Todd Herman. Critical information from a faith-enriching perspective. Weekdays at noon Central on AFR. This is American Family Radio, a listener-supported ministry of the American Family Association.
American Family News, I'm Rusty Pugh. New York City is set to elect a new mayor today. President Trump is making his voice heard on who he wants to see move into Gracie Mansion. Aisha Hosni explains.
He has been nonstop on social media, Truth Social, with a flurry of endorsements across the country. He held 2 tele-rallies last night for the gubernatorial candidates, Republican candidates in New Jersey and here in Virginia. And he just endorsed Andrew Cuomo for New York City mayor. He wrote on Truth Social this about Cuomo and why he was going with him. He said, a vote for Curtis Sliwa is a vote for Mamdani. Whether you personally like Andrew Cuomo or not, you really have no choice. You must vote for him and hope he does a fantastic job. He is capable of it. Mamdani is not. Trump has also warned that he'd give New York City only the bare minimum in federal funding if Mamdani wins.
As the government shutdown enters its second month, airport employees continue to work without a paycheck. As major airports across the country face staffing shortages, travelers are feeling the effects. Brooke Taylor reports from Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport.
Things are going to get much worse, and we now know from officials that 3.2 million people have been impacted by either delays or cancellations since the start of the shutdown on October 1st. On Monday, delays topped 4,000 by the end of the day, so similar to yesterday, we expect that number of delays to just getting higher as the day progresses. But more than 13,000 air traffic controllers have not been paid for more than 30 days, leading to a surge of call-outs from frustrated workers who have families to feed and bills to pay. On Friday, the FAA said nearly half of the 30 busiest U.S. airports face shortages of air traffic controllers.
Alabama Senator Katie Britt says what Chuck Schumer and the Democrats are doing is despicable.
It's absolutely ridiculous that we're in this position. I mean, you just heard Chuck Schumer talk about all of the damage that's being done across America because he is demanding a ransom payment to give these people an opportunity. That is absolutely despicable. If you take his words and what he is saying is happening to America, he and the Democrats could have made sure that none of this happened long ago.
The State Department on Monday officially updated its designation for Nigeria as a country of particular concern for its severe violations of religious freedom and persecution of Christians. Michael Waltz is the U.S. ambassador to the UN.
What you have is a terrorist organization, particularly in the north in Nigeria, Boko Haram, that is literally burning churches, massacring people, torturing people, running them out of their homes to the tunes of tens, if not hundreds of thousands.
A parental activist organization says you need to watch out for GSA groups at your children's schools. More from Bronson Woodruff.
Mass Resistance says most parents are completely unaware that GSA clubs, or Gay Straight Alliance clubs, are even in their local schools. The outlet says that over previous decades, the name has morphed into Genders and Sexualities Alliance. It reports that some schools use less odious names like the Rainbow Club, Diversity Club, Spectrum Club, or Equity Club. Arthur Schopper is National Field Director for Mass Resistance. His team explained that whatever label these groups may have attached, these are, quote, basically homosexual and transgender clubs for students and the core tool of the LGBT movement's agenda targeting children. He said there are more reports to come on this topic.
We're going to be talking about how the proponents of these Gay Straight Alliance clubs are relying on a misreading of a 1984 federal law, which ensured that there was no viewpoint discrimination in public schools, especially when it came to extracurricular or volunteer clubs.
Schopper explained the Gay Straight Alliance's presence in schools was predicated by the notion of stopping bullying.
When the fact is there's a lot of research which shows that bullying is actually in decline in many public schools.
They begin by promoting themselves as a club where kids who don't seem to fit in or who have issues relating with their peers can find a place to belong.
The real problem, of course, is that these clubs are pushing all kinds of sexual degeneracy, harm, perversion.
Schopper added that a lot of the pro-family movement is not taking these problems, quote, very seriously.
But they need to be aggressively removed, and there's a way to do that with a proper reading of notable and essential federal law.
I'm Bronson Woodruff.
There's more news online at afn.net and download the AFN mobile app for your Apple or Android device. I'm Rusty Pugh.
At Wesley Biblical Seminary, we believe God is raising up a movement across our nation and around the world who hold fast to the inerrancy of Scripture and the hope of holiness. We do this through bachelor's, master's, and doctoral degrees, certificate programs, and even training for lay people. So whatever your next step is in being equipped for ministry, we're here for you. And if you believe these are the kind of pastors we need leading churches in the future, we invite you to think about giving to Wesley Biblical Seminary. Learn more about us at wbs.edu.
Today's Issues continues on AFR with your host, Tim Wildmon, President of the American Family Association.
Hey, welcome back, everybody, to Today's Issues. That's the name of the show on the American Family Radio Network. Thanks for joining us, and a special hello to our new listeners in Des Moines, Iowa. Mm-hmm. We're on the air now in Des Moines. I don't have we can find out where we are on the dial so people who know people who live in Des Moines can check us out there. We just turned a new radio station on there about a week ago. Tim, Wesley, Fred, and now Steve Paisley Jordahl joins us in studio. Good morning, Steve.
Hey, everybody, especially in Des Moines. How y'all doing today?
Yeah. Okay, so if you have somebody who lives in Des Moines, the greater Des Moines area, we probably go out about 25 miles from Des Moines with our radio station. 89.3 is on the FM dial, 89.3.
Des Moines.
FM dial. Des Moines. That's when they know you're not from there.
Right.
You heard us talking about Tucker Carlson, right?
Yeah, I did.
Well, what do you think about all this?
I think it's a shame. I'm with y'all that I was a great, huge fan of Tucker Carlson when he was at Fox, and he and a couple other people in the conservative movement have just gone off the deep end. And so when he's talking, the one thing I think I'd like to help continue the discussion on is this Christian Zionism thing that Tucker seems to have a problem with. Gary Bauer, we're running a story on this with Gary, and Gary had a good description of Christian Zionism and maybe why it's not what it seems to be. Let's just listen to cut 14.
I'm glad that there's been such a backlash to Tucker Carlson interviewing this guy Fuentes. I don't know what in the world Tucker Carlson was thinking. I think he made a mistake bringing that guy, that loser, on his show, and I wish Tucker would own up to that. He's verbally attacked Christian Zionists. Well, Christian Zionists are Christians that believe the Bible. God made a covenant with the Jews and gave them a homeland in Judea and Samaria. I want to make it very clear, you cannot be a Christian and hate Jews. Yes. Jesus was a Jew.
Okay, so, all right. Let me just state this part of it, too. You can disagree with the policies of the nation of Israel and the government of Israel. You can disagree with their policies while not, quote, hating the Jews or not
thinking that God has abandoned them and therefore we should.
Thank you. I knew you were here for a reason, Steve. More than one. But Fred, you know what I'm trying to say here, Fred?
Oh, absolutely.
Go ahead, lay it out.
I mean, I disagree that Israel allows gay pride parades in Jerusalem.
Right.
So I disagree with that.
Right. That doesn't negate the...
No, you can disagree with...
And when it comes up, you criticize
right.
it.
Absolutely. And we have. We've done stories on this. There may be political decisions that are made in Israel that we disagree with. But when it comes to believing that the Jews today are still part of that covenant that God gave Abraham in Genesis chapter 12, I will bless those that bless you, curse those that curse you. That is the Abrahamic covenant. Do we believe we talked about this at our story meeting this morning, that there are two different covenants, one for Jews and one for Gentiles? No.
Right.
No.
Right. That's a good point.
Paul points that out. There's no such thing as a dual covenant. That's what some people believe, that the Jews will be saved by keeping the law. No. That's why Jesus came.
Right.
He came to fulfill the law, the Bible says, very clear.
Jews as well as the Gentiles.
Yes.
Right.
But as far as supporting the Jewish people, they have a right to that nation, that area. Now they're squeezed into a postage stamp.
Right.
We've talked about before, when God gave the deed to the Jewish people, it's all the way from the Nile to the Euphrates. So Israel is now existing on a small little piece of land. And that's why we get upset when news media and some people even in the Christian community start talking about, well, how about that two-state solution? Let's go ahead and have a two-state solution. Well, listen, it's been tried, folks. It's been tried, and it doesn't work because the other side does not want a two-state solution.
Just for a minute, with God's relationship with mankind prior to Jesus Christ coming to earth was with the Jews, right?
Yeah.
The Hebrews, the children of Israel, the Israelites, right? Okay. When Jesus Christ came on the scene and he opened up God's relationship with everybody, with the Gentiles. Correct me if I'm wrong on my theology here.
That's right.
Okay, so the Gentiles being not anybody non-Jew. So salvation is now available for those who believe and trust in Jesus Christ for forgiveness of sins. Is available for the Jew and the Gentile.
Yes.
But both must trust in Christ, as you say.
Yes.
There's no free pass because you're you're a Jew.
The lineage
of Abraham.
That's right.
So let me just say this too. They're beyond Christian Zionism, which you described, which is, I guess, Tucker Carlson thinks that's a brain virus. He called out Ted Cruz and Mike Huckabee. He owes them an apology. I don't think that'll be forthcoming, but that was just awful what he said about those two guys. Those are Christian patriots who've had a lifelong service in defending faith, family, and freedom. And anyway,
even if they disagreed on it, the way that he treated friendly fire was wrong.
Yeah, you don't talk about Mike Huckabee and Ted Cruz like that. But anyway, what I wanted to say is put the theology aside for just a moment. Okay, Israel is our number one ally in the world, probably, and certainly in the Middle East, where there's a lot of people who hate America. Israel doesn't. Israel loves America. Mm-hmm. So Israel also protects the Christian. What would you call the Christian historical places?
Yes,
that are so critical that are so beloved by millions of Christians around the world, and we visit there once a year, every year, and Israel protects those sites. If you had a Muslim country, they would not protect those sites. Mm-hmm. They would not. So the Jewish people, the Jewish state of Israel protects those sites. There's just multiple reasons. They also, by and large, have Western values there. Now, they are mostly secular Jews there. That is true. But there are a lot of Orthodox and religious Jews, and there are some, a vast minority, there are some what we call
Messianic Jews.
Messianic Jews
yes.
there. But look at the history of Israel and the Jewish people in that part of the world. You're going back thousands and thousands of years. So I just don't get what Tucker Carlson seems to be doing is going over. Even if you disagree, he's just being mean-spirited about the whole thing. Seems to me.
I agree with you on that, and I don't know
Candace Owens too.
Candace Owens even further, but I don't know Nick Fuentes. I've never followed him. I've seen the one time I saw him was at the Mar-a-Lago interview.
He went down there with Kanye West.
Yes, I remember.
I was with him.
Yes, sure you were. Yeah.
Wait a minute. No, I wasn't.
No, you were not on that. No,
I was not with him.
No, you were not. So I don't know anything about not following him like I do others. But leading up to this show prep, I did listen to a good portion of his interview with Tucker Carlson.
Okay.
And Tucker Carlson has also said what I'm about to say about Nick Fuentes. Now remember, this is a long 2-hour interview, and I listened to about 25 minutes of it.
Okay.
But he would say, and Tucker would say, that they were radicalized, and they would Nick used that word.
You know him personally? You keep calling him Nick.
What do you want me to call him, Fuentes?
No, that's okay. Yeah, Nick Fuentes.
If I say his whole name,
I want people to know you don't.
No, I don't know Nick, but if I say Fuentes one more time, I'm going to mispronounce it.
Fuentes is not easily. Okay,
no.
Go ahead.
All right, so Nick Fuentes, when listening to him on Tucker Carlson, he would say that his radicalization would be because he would ask other Jews early on when he didn't know any better, questions about why they didn't criticize anything Jew Israel related or Benjamin Netanyahu or whatever. They wouldn't criticize, and he would say, why not? And then they would call him an anti-Semite because he would ask that question and they would respond that way. And then he would say, because of that, because no one would give me a good answer, then I dug further and I become further and further more radicalized in his position and how he came today. And Tucker would agree with that. That's what they would say. It's hard to believe. Now, obviously, I would guess there's some people out there that if you say anything critical of the nation of Israel, they would have a problem. But I would think that the majority or most people that support Israel would not have a problem having a discussion with anything that we see about Israel that we may disagree with. Am I?
No, I agree with you. But I think the other reason Christians support Israel is that the story isn't finished yet.
Yeah.
When Jesus returns, he's not coming back and not going to Wall Street. He's not going to London. He's coming back. His feet will touch on the Mount of Olives.
That's what he said.
And he will set up his kingdom, and Jerusalem will be the capital.
Yeah.
So that story isn't over yet. So to say, that God is through with the Jewish people, God is through with Israel, is simply factually not true.
Yeah. Amen. All right, next story.
Can I say one more thing?
Yeah, go ahead. One more
thing about the whole Tucker thing, which is right now we're seeing the left wrestle with the extremes of its party. We're seeing communism come in. We're seeing Mamdani. We're seeing AOC. We're seeing them held captive by the radicals on the left. I am calling on mainstream, clear-thinking conservatives and Republicans to repudiate this wholeheartedly, 100%, clearly and now, because the one thing that I don't want to see is the right have a civil war within its ranks like the left is having. It is decimating the chances, I think, the voting chances nationally, I think, of the left.
Yeah.
And I just don't think it's helpful. I think I want to see this nipped in the bud. I don't want to see the radical right do what the radical left did to the Democrats.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Speaking of elections having consequences, Eric Holder, you remember him from the
former Attorney General.
Obama.
Barack Obama.
Mm-hmm.
He is looking forward. He says that there is a fair chance that Democrats, he thinks they have a good chance of at some point taking back both houses of Congress and the White House. And when that happens, he is insisting on some changes, mainly to the United States Supreme Court. Let's listen to cut 16.
The reality is, and it pains me to say this, I think the Supreme Court is a broken institution. And it's something that has to be, I think, a part of the national conversation in 26 and in 28. What are we going to do about the Supreme Court? And I think that we have to think about, again, talking about the acquisition and the use of power. If there is a Democratic trifecta in 2028, and I think the possibility of that is pretty good, Supreme Court reform is something that has to be considered. Term limits, I think, at a minimum, potentially expanding the court is something I think that also should be considered. We cannot leave in place without a discussion, at least, and I think without substantive reforms being put in place, this Supreme Court as it is presently constituted.
Elections have consequences. I guarantee you, if the Democrats had won and had been able to appoint 3 or 4 more liberal Supreme Court justices, they would not be anywhere close to this.
That's why Senate Majority Leader Thune is not willing to give in to the suggestion of ending the filibuster. Because if you end the filibuster and there are 51 Democrat senators at some point, they will say, okay, filibuster's gone. You guys set the precedent for it. And then they can do what they want with the Supreme Court. They can make Puerto Rico a state. They can make D.C. a state. That's been on the agenda for some time. Eric Holder is just repeating what has been talked about for years amongst Democrats.
Yeah.
All right. Next story.
All right. We are. There's a discussion right now on the economy of the United States. There are some signs that you could take either way. The stock market is doing pretty well. The housing market seems to be slowing down. There are some people saying we might be in for some trouble, but I want to point out something that the Trump administration has done that has kind of kept the strength in the economy. And it is through the Interior Secretary Doug Burgum. And he is confirming that the United States has just set an all-time record in domestic oil production. Remember when Donald Trump ran on Drill, Baby Drill?
Yep.
It's the reason the energy costs are down. Gas prices remain low. And it's because he has revived the oil and gas production in this country.
Yep. Well, that's a good thing.
It is a good thing. We always like a good economy, and especially with
Good News
travel coming up, Thanksgiving travel and everything coming up, you might be grateful for some good gas prices.
Yep.
So what?
I think we got unanimity on this one, Steve. We're all for lower gas prices. And
so
drill, baby,
no,
drill.
I want them lower though.
Lower.
Lower than.
Well, so gas prices have basically been stabilized for the last couple of years, right?
Yeah. Remember, Joe Biden took a whole bunch of oil from the reserves so that he could artificially keep the prices low. I
also think the green movement, which had some momentum back during Biden, and even before that, they've kind of petered out, as they say. I don't know when. So people are coming to the realization, even Bill Gates, remember?
Yeah.
That fossil fuels are here to stay.
Mm-hmm.
Bill Gates
and they're not nearly as dangerous to the planet as we've been led to believe by these far left, what Rush Limbaugh would call environmental wackos. So I think they're not able to scare people anymore like they once were, and so I think that's helpful to our economy.
Bill Gates went as far as to say that the world will not end because of any kind of climate crisis. There is no climate crisis.
That's what he said?
That's what he said.
Okay. Well, that isn't what he said 10 years ago.
No.
10 years ago, he was going, we're all going to die
That's right.
of a hot planet if we don't do A, B, and C. And now I guess he was wrong.
One day.
I think he even admits he was wrong.
One day I'm going to do what I've said I'm going to do.
What are you going to do, Wesley?
I've been saying for years. I'm going to have a segment called Common Ground with the Liberals, where we cover stories like this where it's tongue in cheek. It's really them agreeing with us.
Oh, okay.
Common ground with the liberals.
You had me worried there for a minute.
Yeah. That's the point of the.
But I thought I raised you better than this, you know.
Because we'll let them get the last. We'll let them make. We'll make.
In other words, you want to highlight how they've come around to our way of thinking because our way of thinking proved to be true.
Sure. Yeah, but we can call. We want to let them have their.
I got you.
It was comical during the Biden years. Remember, they were trying to sell electric cars to everybody.
Yeah.
Remember the energy secretary, I think it was, wanted to take a trip from New York or Washington West, but their electric car broke down.
Yeah.
Because they couldn't find
charging
places
stations
to recharge their cars. It was a total disaster.
Yeah.
Total disaster.
Listen, if you want to have an electric car, knock yourself out.
Yeah.
I may have one day. I don't know. People need that. That's all kind of.
If you want to tootle around town,
go ahead.
Yeah, go.
Tesla is a. I've been in a Tesla.
It's
they drive
fun car.
I don't have one, but they drive really nice.
Yeah.
And so I can see why people would buy them, and some people buy them because they want to save money on gasoline. But trying to force feed electric cars on everybody and all these other warnings that we keep getting about the end of the world if we keep using fossil fuels is just not true. And,
I was listening. Elon Musk was on with Joe Rogan this last week.
Okay.
And he is teasing a new product, a new car, new Tesla reveal. And he says it might be the most spectacular reveal in the history of the world. He is hinting at a flying car.
Uh-huh.
Now, there are going to have to be some regulations.
Well, I'm sure there will be, but
because that would be like, what's the difference between that?
George Jetson.
Exactly. But that's what he's almost said as much as that there's going to be a way to have a flying car in his next, and he wants to do this reveal, he says, by the end of this year.
Yeah, I'm thinking about the potential.
Flying car. Okay.
But
you're right, though. Who's going to police the skies? You know? Huh? Am I the only one thinking this?
I was.
You was,
that,
too?
Yeah.
You were.
I was.
Back to the Future had that all set.
I'm just messing with you.
You should say I was. I say you were. Right? Let's move on.
Yeah.
We got 5 minutes.
I was trying to make a
No, we're neither one of us are any good at English, so we just need to move on.
All right.
C+, not awful.
Well,
it'd be better.
Did you know? We'll end a little.
Listen, I ain't going to argue with you no more.
I ain't going to argue no more.
No. Go ahead, Steve. Sorry, my son's over here rebelling.
I'll leave that to you two to figure out. Okay. This is probably why the Southern Baptists don't have one of these. But did you know that the Vatican has a chief astronomer?
Oh.
His name is Father Richard de Souza, and he has been named the chief astronomer of the Vatican. And
what does he do?
Well, he is opining about what would happen if there are little green men.
Does he do mass for astronauts or something?
Well, no. He opines. He said he was asked the question about what would happen to theology if we discovered aliens, little green men aliens, like from another planet. And he said, theology would have to be reimagined and take into consideration other beings. He said that they'd be part of God's creation. They'd be the children of God, but would they be covered by Jesus? Would you be able to baptize them? This is getting all into the weird weeds, which is why, again, I think the Southern Baptists and the evangelicals don't have chief astronomers.
Yeah.
No, I just believe what the Bible says about the heavens.
Yeah.
You know.
What does the Bible say, Fred?
Bible says there's 3 levels of heavens, and out there somewhere is where Jesus went. He is building a home for us for all eternity. And I'm as things get crazier here, I'm looking more forward to that every day.
Yeah.
Every day.
My dad, who's a pastor for 40 years, used to opine that if there is life on other planets, it's angelic life. It's where the angels go to. Maybe they have, if there is life on other planets, it would have to be angelic because Christ died for humankind. He didn't go to another planet to die for them too.
This is what Answers in Genesis would teach, because they covered this alien issue at the Ark Encounter that we went to.
Am I close to what they were saying?
Okay.
Yep. Good. I'm glad to know it.
Well, this that addresses aliens, but it doesn't do anything for me about Bigfoot.
Well, I don't know.
That's Wednesdays.
Oh, we're going to cover that tomorrow?
So stick around. We want to tease folks.
Bigfoot's real, huh? All right, so we're out of time. We thank you for yours.
I think it is. This is one of the first radio programs I've been a part of where I said this is a really good thing.
It's time to close it down.
We say that anyway sometimes, but it really is time.
Because we're getting borderline. Saying something we probably would regret
if we hadn't already.
Yes. All right. Thank you, Steve.
My pleasure.
Steve Paisley Jordahl joining us there. Fred Jackson, Wesley Wildmon. I'm Tim Wildmon, and we want to thank Brent Creeley, our producer. And let's see, Chris Woodward was on with us, and Todd Nettleton, a voice of the Martyrs. And we thank you for listening to AFR. We hope you will continue throughout the day, and we'll see you back here 22 and a half hours from now.
Hey, my name is Wesley Wildmon.
And I'm Walker Wildmon.